Hi there, and thanks for stopping by. In this video, I'll be talking about the benefits and advantages of using the preamp-out from your amplifier in conjunction with a cab IR into your DAW and comparing it with a microphone. There are many good reasons to use the preamp-out and many practical solutions that come along from using this method. Number one, the disadvantages of using a mic is that it requires several factors to be in order if you want to achieve a high-quality guitar tone. It depends on how good of a cabinet and speaker you have, the quality of the interface preamps, how good your acoustic environment is, having the correct mics, cables, mic placement, humidity level. The list goes on, and it's extremely technical and requires a massive amount of money. The average musician need not go through all this trouble when they can have access to high quality impulse responses and bypass the need for all these costly studio gear, and just the sheer time and knowledge required to configure all of this setup and achieve optimal results. A professional studio has done the legwork for you and used very expensive gear and an acoustic treated room or isolation boxes, and you have access to tens of thousands of these impulse responses for fairly inexpensive. Even if you have a full studio and you have your own IR collection of your own high quality cabinets, then it's just smart to use the preamp out for the sake of convenience so that you don't have to set up the microphones and set levels every single time, unless you have a completely dedicated room that just the microphone doesn't move around at all. But most people don't have that luxury, and the microphone is constantly being nudged around, or, during jam sessions and stuff. So just for the sake of convenience, you can just plug from the preamp out into your interface, use your own IR you can make your own impulse response from that exact cabinet. So you're getting your own sound, but you don't have the bleed from the drums, and you don't have the inconveniences of setting everything up. So yeah, there's many disadvantages to using a microphone when you think of it, when you step back. Number two, you can record at home silently and replace the need for amp sims. Amp sims have a lag in the feel and do not have a proper tube amp gain saturation. It's just a static and it's a fake feel. There's a lag in the latency of the feel. So you get a proper amp feel, and you're using your own amp and you're used to how it sounds and how it responds. You're not just compensating or using a supplement. Like an amp simulator it's based off of it's trying to emulate. It's a simulation of the real thing. You want to be using a proper tube amp. Number three, when you're recording with your band live off the floor, you will get a clean, dry signal. So you don't have to worry about the bleed from the drums or other instruments as well, as I mentioned before. So the overall production value of your recordings is going to improve just by reducing the bleed from the microphones of your guitars, your basses, and just those three mics that are bleeding into each other. So if you go from the preamp out into your interface, then the whole production value just goes right up. Number four, you get the real feel of an amplifier in your hands and the immediateness in response. Amp sims or even microphones can feel a little bit loose in responsiveness, especially if you're in a hall when reverb is a factor. The round trip latency, in order to hit your ears, there's going to be a millisecond or two delay, and it's not going to be as immediate. So if you're a shredder, someone that relies on speed or articulation, extreme speed, like death metal guys or tech death guys, you want to be using a preamp out because it's super fast. It's just you're going to be able to interpret the notes a lot faster versus like a microphone that might have bleed, and you're going to have a hard time hearing things exactly the way it is. And it's going to be a very consistent tone every single night. Number five, it is superior to Axe effects or Kemper modeling in the sense that it responds, feels, reacts as an actual amp should. It's not an imitation of the sound or feel. It's the same thing as amp sims, models, emulations. They're all the same. They're imitations of an actual amplifier. So a real tube amplifier is going to react the way it should, and anything else is just an imitation of that. So yeah, it's superior to be using a real tube amplifier. I know Axe Effects and Kemper do a lot of tricks, and there's a lot of features that come along with it, but it actually burns a lot of time when you're just messing around too much, and you never get to the point of writing riffs. And an actual tube amplifier, like when you find a really good tube amplifier, you just want to play it, and you don't want to mess around. So digital processors will always be inferior to the feel of a tone of an actual source that it's based off of. It's better to buy the right tube amp that's right for you than waste your money tweaking on Axe effects or getting nearly as close. Like, you always hear those Axe effects guys, they're like, yeah, it sounds just like a Marshall or just like a 5150. And it's like, why don't you just get a 5150 and, stop chasing that tone when you can just have it? Number 7, if your band uses backing tracks, it's an excellent source for recording backing tracks because that's the exact amp sound that you have. If you're going to front of house with the preamp-out with an IR and you're using your own cabinet, then that's the exact sound of your amp, and the backing tracks are going to be indistinguishable from the audience's perspective. Number 8, it can be used for reamping DI tracks, so you can get the best of both worlds. You can record micro parts on your computer and then reamp that to your actual tube amp, and then use the preamp out so that you get a quiet signal as well, so you can do it at night if you want. You can reamp all day, all night, and you get an actual tube amp sound and not just an amp sim sound or a 57 sound that you don't particularly like. You can use a cab impulse response that's high quality.
And they run in stereo on the JSX cabinet on the left side here. Right now. Yeah.
And how are you not miking those? How are those going in? Or are the mics just not set up?
Oh, I don't use the mics. What happened is I actually used the XLR at the back of the DI of the Prophecy instead. The reason is because I use the in-ear monitors here. I got it consistent every single night, how the guitar sounds. If I put a mic there, sometimes not quite the same frequencies.
Number 9, the signal from a preamp out is a very steady and easy to manage sound source from a recording engineer perspective. For example, phase issues from using multiple mics is not an issue. Another benefit is that it's already compressed, so you don't have to cut out the low end nearly as much as a microphone. The reason why most people have to cut out the low end is because a guitar amplifier is extremely bassy, and a high gain amplifier especially, and it overpowers the capacity for the microphone to absorb that low energy. So you have to run a high pass, low pass to get rid of the fizz and the low end muffle woof. So with a preamp, it comes in very steady and solid, so you don't have to cut out the low end as much because the interface can deal with that low end more consistently. It's not jumping up and down. Like if you look at a waveform on a microphone, when you chug, when you hit a palm mute, it just spikes all of a sudden, and that creates an imbalance, and you have to compress that and EQ that and cut it out. So it sucks because you're killing your tone in the process when you scoop out the lows and the highs. So you want the tone to come in as it should, and the interface just to deal with it. And yeah, you just adjust the gain level on your interface, and as long as you're not overloading the signal source completely, it'll record very steadily. And from a recording engineer perspective, it's just very steady and easy to manage. Here's the short demonstration I've recorded between a Shure SM57 and the preamp out of a Focusrite 18i20 recording interface. I use an LTD with headset EMGs into a 50-watt EVH Stealth and a Mesa oversized cabinet with stock 75 G12 V30 Celestion speakers. So in conclusion, I'm not against microphones. I think they're great. If you have a Royer 121 or a 421, those are amazing microphones, and you should definitely use them in certain contexts, in the studio setting, for instance. But I'm just laying out the advantages of using the preamp out, and also you could blend the two sources together, and make a very unique sound. 75% each side, left, right, pan, preamp, and the microphone, and you could come up with a pretty interesting sound. So, yeah, I'm not against microphones. I'm just trying to give some people some tips on the preamp out, because it's not a commonly used source. Like, a lot of people are just stuck on the microphone, and that's all they know about. But yeah, look into the preamp. It's quite powerful of a tool to have at your disposal in the toolbox. So that's pretty much it for the list. I just want to say, always have a load connected to your amplifier, like a speaker or a load box, because when you're doing this, you can't just plug into your interface and not have any load on it. So yeah, you can damage your amp. So I'm just letting you know about that before you try this. So that's everything. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks. Like and subscribe.